it's Sandra. Welcome to another episode of Asexualize My Asexual Life. This is the place to be for education about asexuality, all things asexual. I share my asexual life journey in order to help you in yours. If you haven't already subscribed, hit that great big subscribe button on YouTube right here, right now. And if you're on Facebook, hit that great big follow. Don't forget to hit the bell icon on Facebook underneath my live videos and the bell icon on YouTube to get notified of every time I go live like now or post a new video. So today's question I got asked quite a long time ago on YouTube, and I haven't been able to actually answer it because we had Asexual Perspectives Awareness Month going on last month, so I wanted to keep that, what it's meant to be for, asexual awareness across the diversity of our spectrum, right? Celebrating our differences within it. So now I've got around to some of the questions I was asked before then that I want to address, and one of them was, how do I know if I'm asexual or just got commitment issues? And so this was a question I didn't expect to get, because I kind of think most people would have an idea about whether they had commitment issues or whether they lacked sexual attraction or not. But I understand that it can be quite difficult with the experiences we have in life. And so this may be a question that's on a lot of people's minds. Like, how do you know if you're looking to date or to get into a relationship that you haven't just got commitment issues rather than being asexual? Well, what makes someone asexual? Like, how is asexuality defined? What defines an asexual person? An asexual person is defined by someone who lacks sexual attraction. But that isn't the only definition. That's a very short definition that most people know it by. The actual definition of Wikipedia, to concise it down to what it actually says, is basically asexuality is a sexual orientation that's, well, it doesn't say the word sexual orientation. Basically, asexuality is a person that lacks sexual attraction and or little to no interest, has little to no interest in sexual activities. It's usually little to no desire and of sexual acts, that type of thing. So basically, you can lack sexual attraction. Hi, Sam. Nice to see you. Bit of a strange question, as people who are asexual can be very committed, and people can be very sexual and have no commitment. And by the way, hi. Yeah, it is a very strange question. Yeah, like you say, asexual can be very committed, and people can be very sexual, not committed. I think what this particular person, I'm guessing, was interested in finding out is if they specifically had commitment issues or they were asexual. I think really it requires some deep introspection. Really, a person probably subconsciously knows whether they're asexual or not, but it depends if they've had trauma in their life where they might have blocked out part of their past. So, for example, if they've had traumatic relationships in the past, and they've blocked that part of their mind out, so they can't quite remember if they were open to relationships before, and if they experienced sexual attraction, they've kind of numbed that off. That is a possibility, which obviously would be a mental health difficulty, which would need to have some therapy to address and see where that's the actual issue. But a person who's asexual, by and large, they don't experience any sexual attraction. Or in the case of grey asexuals, they experience it, but only limited, rare or specific circumstances, or experience it, but not enough to want to act on it. So the grey asexuals don't have stereotypical sexual attraction. That's why they don't fit into the sexual spectrum. So with this in mind, the person or anyone who's listening to this would need to ask themselves, honestly, do they experience sexual attraction? So what does sexual attraction even mean, right? If you're new to thinking about what does actually sexual attraction mean, sexual attraction means you get the need, urge, or want for partner sexual intercourse with a specific person or people. So you look at someone and you think, oh, I really want sex with them. If that enters your head sometimes, then you experience sexual attraction in those instances. So you have to analyze how often and frequently you think about that. Is it normal, would you say? Or is it that it rarely, like a couple of times a year, for example, that it wouldn't warrant being in the actual sexual spectrum? It'd be on the grey asexual part of the asexual spectrum. And I think some people have past issues and fears and doubts and worries and traumas that might make them doubt whether they are asexual or they just don't want a relationship, I'm guessing, because, of something that happened in their past. I'm guessing that's what the person was coming, the angle the person was coming from. But I don't know because obviously I'm not coaching them one on one. I don't know their circumstances. I don't know what's happened in their past. I'm just guessing from anyone who's coming from that sort of point of view of, am I asexual or am I just having commitment issues? They are two completely different things. Asexuality is a sexual orientation. Commitment issues, which is kind of what Sam was talking about, is an individual thing. It's got nothing to do with your sexual orientation, or at least it shouldn't have anything to do with your sexual orientation. So that's why Sam's a bit confused, because commitment, people can lack commitment whether you're asexual or sexual, whatever sexual orientation you are. But I'm guessing this person's undergone some relationship trauma in the past, some difficulties in some type of relationship, and that's why they were asking, because they're kind of confused as to whether they just don't want a relationship and really they're not really asexual. And like I said, they'd have to really introspect and ask themselves, do they experience sexual attraction? But again, asexuality is a genuine sexual orientation. It's not that you've had trauma and it's stopping you from having sex. That would be like a different issue. Although I do know some people who identify as asexual have come from that type of experience and feel that they're asexual because they just don't experience any sexual attraction whatsoever nowadays, for even if it's down to a traumatic experience they had in their life, they still identify as asexual. But I have to just point out that asexuality is a genuine sexual orientation that is the lack of sexual attraction. And a lot of people are born asexual but just don't realize it. They find it out through relationships. So, for example, when one person is wanting sex and they're talking about it and they're really eager to have it, and you're kind of thinking, I'd rather watch television, I'd rather do the dishes, I'd rather be doing something else like working on a project, I'd rather be going out for a walk, can't we just sit and talk for a while? Do we really have to be talking about this again? Do we have to be thinking about this? Like, it's kind of a chore. Have we really got to take our clothes off now? It's kind of, you kind of feel like it's unnatural for you, which it is, because sex in the main for asexuals is not something that would come naturally or we'd think about. So if you're a person who's got repressed sex drive, I'm guessing you would still kind of feel some of those urges. You would kind of still feel an attraction to people, even if you've repressed it. You'd feel that something's there, and you'd have to explore that probably with a therapist, right? I mean, if you define as asexual, then that's great. But you don't need to see a therapist to prove you're asexual. You don't need to have a therapist to mend you not broken. You don't need fixing. But obviously, with this question, I'm guessing the person was coming from the point of view they've had some traumatic experiences in their life and they're not sure whether they're actually asexual or whether they just got commitment issues because they've had past traumas. So in which case, if you've got some kind of suppressed emotions or some type of thing in your past that you're not actually sure if it's your sexual orientation, or if indeed that you have got some past issues that you think stopping you from having a relationship and probably stopping you from having sex, but otherwise you'd have it, then that is a call for having some therapy and working out, actually, is it because I've had past trauma of whatever type it is? It might not even be in a relationship. It might be with family members or parental figures or teachers, or it might have been some sexual abuse. It does happen. And so sometimes these traumatic experiences, they can cloud our life and they can make us doubt ourselves sometimes. And so it's very important that you explore that for yourself. If you at all thinking, oh, I think I might want to have sex with someone, you're likely not going to be asexual unless that's very infrequently you experience that, in which case you'd be on the grey asexual spectrum, possibly part of the asexual spectrum. So it's really down to you to actually decide for yourself. But I wanted to give you some guidance as to, basically, if you're asexual, you lack sexual attraction, you wouldn't usually look at someone and think, I want to have sex with you. And with them, with you, with the person in front of you, right? But also, like I said, you wouldn't really be that interested in sexual activities. It'd be something like kind of a foreign concept to you that isn't really your thing. You don't really vibe with it. I mean, you might do it, you might go along with it, you might have it, but it's not really what's in your soul and being. You'd rather be doing other things like kissing and cuddling, that type of thing, you know? So I think you need to ask yourself and put pen to paper and ask yourself, like, in past relationships and experiences, like, have I thought that I want to have sex with anyone? Have I been thinking about doing sexual acts? Have I been thinking I'd like to do them with a real person? Have I been would I have sex in relationships if there wasn't some sort of past trauma or issue going on? Would I feel comfortable having sex if, you know, if I felt like good about myself, for example, you know? This is if a person is not sure if they're asexual, or it could be some other thing like commitment issues. This is not advice for a person who categorically knows they're asexual, right? If you know you're asexual, you don't need to be, you don't need to be thinking about these things. But for someone who doesn't know whether they're asexual or not, it's very important. Stevie, nice to see you. When I first figured I was asexual, I had doubts. And maybe that is what the person was going through too. When you begin to doubt, you pose those kind of questions to yourself. Yeah, I totally agree, Stevie. Yeah. I've never doubted I'm asexual, which is kind of really weird, I guess. but it isn't weird. I do doubt some other things in my life. I can have self-doubts, but I've never ever doubted I'm asexual, ever. I've pushed myself to see if I could be demisexual or real, genuinely great asexual and experience sexual attraction, but I don't. At the beginning, I thought I was great asexual because I thought I experienced sexual attraction, but not enough to want to act on it. But then I realised it was arousal, and I've never felt sexual attraction in my life. And so, you know what I mean? So I have like been with, like, when I've been dating heterosexual guys, I've been in my head like, am I sexually attracted to this person at all, whatsoever? A little bit. It's always no, 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 because I'm like that. My brain's very analytical, so I'll just analyze stuff all the time. And it doesn't matter if I'm kissing for 3 hours, I'm still not sexually attracted to the guy. It's very interesting for me because I would have just, like, I would just think, is there nothing there? Like, there's nothing there. It's weird. That's because I'm more consciously aware of it now than I was years ago, you know? So it's kind of like looking at yourself from an outside perspective, looking inwards. It's really bizarre. But yeah, I mean, it's bizarre. But yeah, I mean, it's okay for people to have doubts. You know, some people do have doubts. So some people that are in and out of the asexual community constantly, like up and down, you know, they think they fit in the asexual community and they're asexual, then they don't think they do, and then they think, and obviously some people can have gender identity difficulties where they can't decide what gender they are as well. And it's difficult for people when they can't decide what's actually right for them and how they define themselves. But I always say asexuality is a journey of discovery. It's not something you have to have all the answers to as an overnight fix, right? Some people, it takes a lot longer to discover where you fit into the asexual spectrum. It took me 3 weeks, and in that time I was very sheepish. I was kind of weak in my asexuality back then because I wasn't actually sure where I fit in. Because at the beginning, like I said, I did think I was actually a textbook grey asexual because I thought I experienced sexual attraction, but not enough to want to act on it. And then when I realised it was arousal, then I'm like, categorically, no, I don't experience any sexual attraction. But I've never actually doubted that I'm asexual at all. As soon as I found it out, I'm like, oh my God, that's me. That's who I am. And looking back, it's always, thank you for the thumbs up, lots of love to you. And looking back, it's always obvious to me that I was asexual and born it asexual and just didn't realise it. But yeah, I think people have to do a lot of introspection, and ask themselves, like, is there any, if someone's asking me, have I got commitment issues? I would ask them, like, so what in your life happened to make you think you might have commitment issues? What is it that happened in your life that made you think you might have commitment issues? What incident, what person, what event, what happening, what actually went on? Why do you feel that way? That's what I would ask them. if I was one-to-one coaching, why do they feel that they might have commitment issues? Where does that come from? What place does that come from? What time in their life does that come from? What made them think that way? It's not right or wrong to think that way, but just, trying to discover why they think that way. Stevie, well, for me, I thought, oh, I have my sexual awakening, which never happened. So that was my doubt. Oh, really? Oh, bless you. I could see, yeah, I could understand that. I guess because you're in your 20s, are you? Still, I think at the moment you're in 20s, aren't you? I think. Um, but yeah, I think for certainly because obviously I've had sex in the past, and so I was used to the sexual life for years, and I've even said that I'm glad that I tried that personally for me. I don't expect other asexuals to be the same, but personally for me. And so I guess that I've never had to think that maybe I'll have my sexual awakening, but I presume it's quite common for a lot of particularly younger asexuals to feel that way in this, 21st century we live in, particularly as well. Um, because a lot of peer pressure, isn't there? And adults going, "Oh, you'll feel different later on. It's gonna be different for you. You'll just get attracted to." It's a bit like when the doctor told me years ago, "Oh, you'll want kids later in life." It's like I really won't, and I have never done. I knew my own mind back then. I don't need a doctor to tell me what I want. You know what I mean? Sam, I have known I'm ace since I found out it was a thing, and I've never experienced sexual attraction or engaged in sex. I tried to push myself to, but never could. Yeah, that's a definite way of finding out you're definitely asexual, is trying to push yourself to have sex and you just can't do it. And that's how it was for me in 2013. So even though I'd had it in the past, I dated a Bangladesh. Well, I was in a relationship with a Bangladesh guy, but it only lasted 3 weeks because he cheated on me in those 3 weeks. But he wanted me to have sex with him, and I just couldn't do it. I tried to do everything else, but like we ended up in the shower together, and I was sponging him down, being naked, trying not to look at my body because I'm naked repulsed. I don't mind looking at my body now, naked on my own, but when I was trying to be with him, it was like really difficult for me because I didn't want to do that, and I'm like, just don't look at your body, just concentrate on him, just because it's kind of like, thanks for the thumbs up. It's kind of like, I don't really want to be doing this, and by looking at my own body and his, it's kind of bringing it to reality. So I just preferred to focus on him. So he was naked, and I did touch him. I'm not into touching guys' bits these days because I don't do stuff that I don't want to do. Um, but back then I just cemented. This was before I found out it was asexual. I might add. This is 2013. I didn't find out it was asexual to 2014, but that's how I knew I was very, very different. Something was very different about me, and something had massively changed in me, or I'd become the true me. Which I know I've become the true me now, and that's because I could not bring myself to have sex with this guy. I mean, he was Bangladesh, 23, I think he was. He's very good looking. Like, I just couldn't do it. I just really couldn't. Every part of me just couldn't do it. And so I really relate to Sam when they said they tried to push themselves there and never could. With me in the past, I could, but when 2013 came around, that was it. I mean, I've never been able to have sex with anyone since 2011. And we're now in 2021. So this November, I'll be sex free for 10 years. I just can't do that anymore. Something's just in me like, boing, you can't do that anymore. It's just like off the table. I can't. It's really weird how I used to do that, and then all of a sudden realize I can't do it. Stevie, I think it also stems from our hypersexualization of the media, where being hypersexual is the norm, even on teenagers, which is gross. Yeah, it was weird. I saw something today, and it was to do with sex, and it said about animals and kids. I'm like, what? That's sick. I can't even remember what it was. I was scrolling through Facebook somehow. I ended up like coming across it, and I'm like, that's a bit weird to say the least, a bit yuck. So yes, it's disgusting in my opinion. But yeah, I think it does stem, like you say, from the point of view. There's a lot of peer pressure, I think, especially for when you're in your late teens, early 20s, all that type of age, particularly. That you'll change your mind, like people think it's a mind thing, or you'll come to the realization that you are sexual after all, and like you said, you'll have this great awakening. I had an awakening, but it was the opposite awakening. I had an awakening to the fact I'm asexual. I was like, hang on a minute, I can't do this anymore. What's going on? I just can't do it anymore. Even if the guy's really, really good looking and hot, I just can't do that. It's like that was like my hyper awakening to asexuality. It's very bizarre though, because obviously my life's been backwards. I've had the heterosexual life, and now I'm having my asexual life. I've always been asexual, didn't realize it. But it's very strange that I get arousal, high arousal levels, but no sexual attraction. I always find that bizarre. I find that bizarre about myself, but I got to love myself for it, because you can't not like yourself for who you are. But I just find it weird. There must be a special guy out there, one special guy in the world that loves kissing. It's asexual that loves kissing and love, and also experiences high levels of arousal. And and just I'll get on really well with him, and we'll have a great time. But trying to find that one guy is kind of a bit like a needle in a haystack. And you would have thought with all the asexuals in the world, there's going to be someone out there like that, but it's very difficult to find. I think most and that's okay about me not revealing my body, because I'm just really not into that or doing other sexual stuff now. It's kind of like I need a very specific guy who's got niche needs like me, and we can just get on and have fun, asexual fun together. And I do agree with you, Stevie. There is a lot of hypersexualization. I think, for anyone who's doubting or questioning their asexuality, I think it's important to just take a step back and, review your individual situation and feelings. Because obviously another one is, like you could think, am I asexual, or is it a traumatic past relationship that makes me not want sex? That's a perfectly valid question to ask yourself. Um, and then you have to answer that honestly and dive deep. But again, if you don't experience any sexual attraction, that's the definition of asexuality, lack of sexual attraction. Like I said, there's also the other bit of little to no interest in sexual activities, which is very ambiguous, I think, which does complicate things for asexuals in the community, I think, but it is what it is. That's how the grey asexuals come into it, because they do experience it. But the ones that do experience it, but not enough to want to act on it, that's a part of the asexual definition, which is little to no interest in sexual activities. Would be the people that experience sexual attraction but don't want to act on it. The grey asexuals like that. Like I said the other day, there's two types of grey asexuals. Those ones, and ones that do experience sexual attraction but only under limited, rare, or specific circumstances. And some of those might want sex. So it's very, very interesting and diverse, the asexual spectrum. But I think if anyone's questioning where they are asexual or not, I think it's just take time to actually evaluate if you are or not for you. Like have a question mark there for a while. I mean, I had a question mark for 3 weeks of what type of asexual was. I knew it was heteromantic, but I didn't quite know where I fit in. I still don't particularly exactly fit into a neat asexual box years later. I feel there isn't really exact specific box for me, but I create my own box as much as possible. But yeah, and so yeah, I think with commitment issues, I think like Sam says, people can have commitment issues regardless of sexual orientation. So commitment issues would look like something like when someone's getting close to you and they're getting more attached to you, and they're maybe getting more attracted to you, they're talking to you more, they're emotionally bonding with you more, and then you were feeling comfortable, but the more closer they got in terms of emotional connection, the more close they got in terms of wanting to spend time with you and stuff like that. If you had commitment issues, that would repel you if you had commitment issues, because you don't want to get too close to someone, usually because you're worried about getting hurt. That's what like commitment issues looks like. So for me, I'm very open. If I like a guy, I will tell him the truth that I like him, and I won't kind of like stop talking to him or cut down the amount of time I'm talking to him on purpose just to retract myself because I don't want to get too involved with him, right? Whereas a guy who's got commitment issues, for example, I'm just saying a guy, it can be any gender. A guy who's got commitment issues, for example, they will be more cold and distant. They will maybe not contact you as much as they used to. They will start going away from you. So if you're trying to attract someone who's so I've had problems, right, with guys who are non-committal and not open emotionally, right? They're closed off emotionally, and they're non-committal. So they're not emotionally available, or at least not to me. They might be for the other person who'd right for them, but not to me. And what that looks like is someone who is very like, they, well, you've got two different types. You've got the one person that they love speaking to you. They get really close to you really quickly. They chat to you loads. They message you loads, and they get really strongly bonded to you emotionally straight away, very quickly, right? And that then, as soon as you show more interest in them and show maybe love feelings for them or really deep feelings for them, that then, because they've got commitment issues, they get frightened by that and like, oh my God, like, and they'll start backing away. And so instead of having a beautiful harmonious like relationship developing where you're both loving each other, growing together, chatting, open communication, working things out together, coming closer together and feeling each other more and allowing those emotions to take place and to unfold in front of each other and to be embraced and looked after and cared for, you'll find that that person starts to go, if they've got commitment issues, starts to go away from you, starts to fade more, starts to not tell you everything that's on their mind, and you can sense it intuitively. You can feel this, something's off. They're not their usual self. The messages aren't as loving. They're not putting so lovey-dovey stuff. They're talking more like a mate to you. This type of behavior. This is a person who's got commitment issues usually. It might just be that they're the wrong person for you and you're not actually right for each other, obviously. But someone who's got commitment issues will be repelled the more you get close to them. The more you emotionally get close to them, it scares the living hell out of them and they will usually want to run away. And so if you're looking for a person who you want to be committed, if you get really emotionally attached quickly, it's not recommended to do that, but I do naturally usually do that quite often because I'm a hyper romantic. You can work out very quickly if someone's going to be right for you or not, or if they're going to be repelled by you, and then the relationship isn't going to last or go very far. So that is actually a benefit of being a hyper romantic. Sometimes I find it hard to find the benefits, but being, it is a benefit, is that I can usually see a guy, he shows his true colors to me a lot more quicker because I'm like kind of like in there, like my emotions and feelings are already in there. And while that's quite dangerous for me and it's not necessarily healthy for me to be that way in terms of like, I've already given my emotions to someone where they've not necessarily deserved it, I can usually find out pretty quickly, a lot quicker than other people, whether that person has got commitment issues and actually is genuinely interested in me. Because if not, I'll scare him off quickly because he'll find it too intense and he'll find it too much. Whether that's because, like I said, if he's got commitment issues, it might be that if he didn't have commitment issues, he'd love me being that way. He'd love me being intensely lovey-dovey towards him, intensely romantic towards him, intensely loving him. He'd lap it up. He'd be like, oh my God, I love the attention. I love the feeling. I love the emotion. But a person who's got maybe past traumatic experience that's led them to commitment issues, that would repel them because it would remind them of past trauma they had where they committed to someone and that person let them down. Maybe that person had an affair. They went off with someone else. Or maybe they did what that person then does to you or me, and that is they go away from that person because that the person they loved or cared for deeply had commitment issues of their own. And so it starts off like a chain reaction, if you know what I mean. So instead of a person stopping thinking, hey, I've got commitment issues, I'm not emotionally available, I need to get this sorted out, I've obviously got a problem, I need to work on myself. The chain of events, like one person kind of creates a lack of harmony and creates insecurity within a relationship with someone, that then starts them having issues, both people in the relationship. And so you can see how some relationship people just carry on the threads of trauma throughout different types of relationships. It's like a pattern they have. And so you get a pattern of, like this person's non-committal, but they didn't know at the beginning. So they were both like this. And then this person's got commitment issues. So this person ends up feeling insecure. The relationship ends up being unstable. And then this person breaks off because they got too many commitment issues and can't deal with it. This person's very insecure now. And they take that pattern of behavior of the way they were treated towards another relationship usually. And then they be insecure. They've got commitment issues because they remember when they committed to this person, this person went away from them. So because this person went away from them, they don't want to get committed to the next person because this next person might go away from them too. And then if they end up being with this person, even if it's just for a little bit, and they got commitment issues, they pull back, then this other person's then can end up having commitment issues because they were loved up with this person that had commitment issues from the first person. And can you see how this carries on like a spiral? This is what a lot of dating and relationship coaches don't actually talk about. They don't go in depth like I do on this type of stuff. But this is how patterns can be carried on from relationship to relationship to relationship. And different people can end up being like that. So two people that are in the original relationship, they both can end up with commitment issues in other relationships. And this is a shame because it means they're not having the fulfilling, lasting, loving, caring, committed relationships that both of them probably crave. A lot of people that have commitment issues are the ones that really want the love the most. They're ones that really want the security and commitment, love in terms of their needs are like that, but they don't want it consciously. They lie and subconsciously their past sabotages them. So whereas in the past they would have actually loved to be in a serious committed relationship, now it scares the living hell out of them because another person's let them down. And therefore they think the next person's going to let them down and they don't want to commit to that person. So therefore they're going to pull back. And this just starts a ripple effect. This is how come a lot of people, I think, I talk to guys because I'm interested in guys, but this is how a lot of guys, for example, get commitment problems. But obviously the guys are in relationships with women previously, So, but this is how, people get commitment issues. But, and it's sad because if we all learn to just understand our past pains and experiences and trauma and work through them as much as possible. And if we're open to love again, and if we're open to saying, hey, I got hurt in the past, but this person in front of me doesn't mean to say they're going to hurt me as well. And I'm going to cherish them and love them in this moment. And if they end up not being good for me, then I'll have to walk away. But I'm going to put 100% time, energy, and effort into this person and making it work. It'd be a lot better. But the trouble is, a lot of the people with commitment issues, they just see warning signs. It's like, oh my God, no, this person might pull back from me because I'm getting emotionally attached to them now. Can't do that. Can't handle it. I'm just going to go away. And they never really solve that problem. So if they go to another relationship, they're most likely to have this issue going on again. Or they'll get with someone who's casual, doesn't really want a committed relationship, maybe wants a little bit of fun, or just not really up for anything serious, doesn't really take life very seriously, so they'll get with someone purposely who'll be the opposite of what they really want, the commitment and that, because they obviously at the moment in their mind, they don't want that, even if it's subconsciously, because they've been hurt in the past, if that makes sense. It's definitely a cycle that needs to be broken. Thank you, Stevie. Yeah. It's a very big cycle that needs to be broken. And it is hard, it's hard because I've had past relationship issues going on in the past, but I've always been kind of used to being committed. But over the last few years, I haven't found a good guy to be committed in a loving, caring, committed relationship for a long period of time to. But when I'm in a relationship, I don't go around after other guys and stuff like that. So, and I'm willing to put in the time, energy, and effort and still be in a relationship. At the moment, I've decided not to date and be in a relationship because I went back on a Facebook dating and I was still really upset about the Indian asexual guy, and I didn't think I'd be. So clearly I'm not actually fully over him yet, and I don't think that's fair to then be looking for another guy. It's not going to be any healthy or any good for me. I just really try and want to stick to my career now, because I think I'll probably get my guy years later when I get my career sorted, because he's probably going to be a business guy, I would have thought. Probably meet me in my future business somewhere. My life. Nice to see you. Lots of love to you. Nice to see you. So yeah, it's news. Oh, My Life has some news. I love My Life. They come in and give us like news bulletins of their life. It's cool. It is called My Life. That's why it's so cool. If you want to say your news, feel free to share. I always like hearing My Life's news, because My Life's been an avid viewer of this channel for quite some time, haven't you, My Life? So how's things going with your boyfriend? So yeah, So yeah, I hope the videos helped you in terms of like, am I asexual or is it just commitment issues I've got? I hope I've given the people out there something to think about. You know, if this is a question that you resonate with, let me know in the comments, obviously. And if you want any more help with this, obviously I do one-to-one coaching. You can go to asexualize.com and it's /coaching page if you want one-on-one help and coaching with this type of stuff. My life, past time, I left the house. My mum looked at my grimoires. Grimoires? Is that how you pronounce it? Said nothing. Then days later, we had a shepherding visit over Zoom. It's basically elders making sure you're still a believer and stuff. And oh right, I didn't know what you were talking about, but that's probably because I'm not really into that type of thing, if you know what I mean. So I don't exactly know what grimoires is. I'm not sure what that is, but I'm sure you're gonna enlighten us. But yes, Mum brought up what she did, so I had to give her the letter I made. So I was forced out of the rainbow broom closet. Oh, this is good. I mean, it's not good you were forced out of it, but it's good in the sense that you said that you're part of LGBT plus now, have you? I'm assuming. From what I remember, the letter was about that. Does she know you're asexual then, or not? Um, but yeah, that is good that you're out now to your mum. Because you've been waiting to do that a long time, haven't you? So that's really good. But yeah, so well, I'm proud of you that you're out and that you did a letter about that. That's good, even though it's difficult to do. So I'm just thinking, is there any more help I can give people with the commitment? I think I've covered most things. The commitment versus are you asexual? So asexuality obviously is the lack of sexual attraction. You need to introspect about that. And then commitment issues is usually due to bad experiences. It might not be experiences in relationships that are bad. It might be like a bad experience with your parents, for example, or anyone that was looking after you as a kid, because you can pick up their bad habits. If someone pushed you away, for example, when you tried to give them love, then you might have carried that emotion throughout your life when you're older. And so when you gave love in the past, it was rejected. And so therefore that would make you fear commitment. So that's also something that would need to be worked on with a therapist or with some life coach or with some other professional. Um, oh, trans. My life's come out about trans. That's great. I'm nervous to have the gender discussions with her, but life has been a bit better and it didn't turn out how I thought it would. So that's good. Yeah, that's really good. My life that you're out about being trans. Well done. This is good. Stevie, Sandra could talk about asexuality versus abstinence. I'd find it interesting. Asexuality versus abstinence. I think I've covered this before, but I'll do it. I'll talk about it anyway because you brought it up now. So asexuality is a sexual orientation that's a lack of sexual attraction, and therefore usually it means you don't want sex because you're not sexually attracted to anyone to want to have sex with. There's no urgency there, there's no need, there's no want, there's no desire. Now, obviously, some asexuals, usually on the more grey end of the asexual spectrum, they may argue that they want sex, but usually that is coming from a place of they want it for the emotional connection rather than for the sex itself, or to feel as physically close to their partner as they can, or because they treat it like a board game or some sort of activity to do, like a hobby. So they're kind of coming from a different mindset than what a sexual person would be. They haven't got that base need, desire, that urge that's kind of like consistently like that, right? And then abstinence is when someone is purposely stopping themselves having sex. So asexual doesn't, in the main, experience sexual attraction. So there's no desire, need, or anything they're missing out on because they don't crave it, they don't need it. So they're not missing out on it. They're not forcing themselves to not have it. Whereas someone who's abstinent of sex. They are forcing themselves to not have sex. Usually, this is for religious reasons or some other cultural reason or something like this. So, abstaining is when you're purposely making yourself go against what you would naturally have an urge to do, usually, i.e., have sex. You know, you're stopping yourself doing it. And in a way, you're repressing that. Whereas asexuals aren't repressed. They don't have that innate need, desire, urge, or want in the first place. So there's nothing to repress or cage or push down because the feeling is not there in the first place, if that makes sense. Because, it's, like some people I've met in asexual groups, and they're not even asexual. They're just literally abstaining from sex. Right, I'm very careful who I let in my group. Sam is admin with me in my group. Sam, who's on this stream chat, right? We're very careful about who we let into the groups. There are few people who come into asexual friends who are not asexual, who I allow at my discretion to go in there if they've got asexual partners, for example, or they're questioning whether they're asexual, or maybe I let someone else in recently who wasn't asexual, but is a heterosexual person, but they are penetration repulsed, for example, and they didn't know where else to go. And they were still, I think they were still questioning kind of about asexuality, but genuinely felt that they didn't fit in there, but they didn't know where else to go. So I allowed them in the friends group because, friends can be people who are friends of asexuals without actually being asexual. But then, I've probably got less than 10 people in there that are, not asexual. But, it's important that we understand that abstinence is not the same. These people that I spoke to, these guys I spoke to in an asexual group, they weren't asexual at all. They're literally abstaining for religious reasons because their culture doesn't allow sex before marriage. As soon as they get married, they just want sex a lot, I know because I talk to these guys. This is why I set up my asexualized no sex dating group, because I was so fed up in going other groups, asexual groups, and the guys I liked wanted sex. And I'm like, this is just ridiculous. I can't find any guys that are not interested in sex. All the ones I talk to, because I'm usually interested in younger foreign guys, and they are some of the most sexual people on the planet, I think. But my ex was very sexual, and he wasn't foreign. The last long-term ex. The others have been a lot. I've had foreign partners as well, boyfriends as well. But yeah, so you've got to just understand that abstaining isn't the same. Stevie, even though I'm not out as a/area yet, I'm not dating or having sex. So many people think I'm abstaining and being a good girl, and it's so annoying. Oh man. Are you an actual girl then, Stevie? Do you identify as a girl? Because I didn't know if you what gender, because I don't think we've discussed gender, have we? Yeah, it's very annoying, isn't it? Like I at school, it reminds me at school, like when I was at secondary school, there was a lot of girls who used to be quite bullying towards me, and they used to like kind of try and cut me off from conversations on purpose. And if they were talking about any kind of kissing and sex stuff, it'd be like, oh, it's not for your ears, you're too fragile to hear about or something. And I was thinking, like, because I was snogging a boy at 6 years old. That's my first heterosexual boyfriend when I was 6 years old. And I was thinking to myself, I probably know a lot more about kissing than you do. And it's a bit like that type of attitude. They thought, oh, it's not for her ears because she's not like this, Whereas just because I wasn't into sex like they were, doesn't mean to say I hadn't got the experience, probably a lot more than they had, Oh, you're a cis girl. I didn't know that because you got the name Stevie. I assumed you weren't female. Shows what I know, But I know these days not to try to think of anyone as any gender, because a lot of people in the asexual community, 10% I think are trans. So I didn't know that, Stevie. That's really interesting. Isn't it interesting when you talk to someone you think they're one gender and they're a different gender? That's incredible. I quite like that. It's interesting. It's like I did have someone email me. I'm not going to say who because I get a lot of messages. And I thought this person was a guy and they were a girl as well. Um, and so it's very interesting, but I didn't know what they looked like at that time. I do now, because I'm connected to them on Facebook. But at the time when they first started messaging me, emailing me, I didn't know, and so I thought by their name they were a guy, and also the way they talked, I thought as well. Like because I've got masculine energy, so usually if I talk to someone, I can pick up on if there's masculine energy in the person. And I don't think there's anything wrong with a female. 'Cause I'm a cis female as well. I don't think there's anything wrong with a cis female having masculine energy, but I can usually tell the difference because I'm very much not really into talk like the any women that I do usually talk to. I mostly have guy friends, but any women that do usually talk to, they usually have masculine energy with them because I can relate to them then. Like they're more like they have guy traits, if you know what I mean. Every person usually that I've got on really well that's female, if I've got on well with them, it's usually because they've got male traits. Sam, I was 22 when I first kissed someone, not really into kissing slash snogging. Wow, you were 22. I was 6 years old when I was snogging, not tongue snogging at that time, but passionately rolling around, open mouth kissing at 6, and I loved every bit of it at 6 years old. Like I was so into it. But the guy wanted to do sexual stuff and I didn't. That's how I know for definite I was asexual back then and didn't realise it. I just felt so invaded, so excuse me, uncomfortable. And I'm like, I just felt horrible, and I kept that secret for years because I felt really bad. Um, my life, same. Which is the same. I got confused. It's like you're not really into snogging or kissing, or that you had your first kiss at a certain age, or you had your first boyfriend at a certain age. So if you can let us know what you're same as, that'd be great. But yeah, I mean, for me, like I'm really like at the moment, I crave kissing all the time. It's really difficult for me. Sam, I used to get chased a lot by a girl as a kid who was trying to kiss me, had to learn to run fast. Oh, bless you. I can imagine that, Sam. Oh, well, there was a guy that I was 14 years old at the time, I think, and this guy, I was like, or was I 15? He was 14 anyway, and he would literally like try and go all around the school to try and find me and chat to me and bump into me and stuff. So I had a guy after me like that. I did actually was his girlfriend for a little while at some point, but he's not a good guy. Like years later, he like had two women on the go at once. I think they were sisters, and he's now got kids by different women, and it's not good at all. And once this guy, I even remember I was alone with him and he invited me up to his bedroom. I was a teenager at the time and I said, no, I'm not that type of girl. Like, I'm not into doing that. So clearly he wanted sex. Do you know what I mean? So I know I'm asexual because of all these past experience. I look back on it and think, most girls would have probably jumped at the chance. And I'm like, no, I'm perfectly fine. Thank you. Not into that. Not that type of girl. So it's obvious that I was asexual and didn't realize it. Oh, you have a similar story as me. Oh, wow. Wow. Yeah, it's I think I remember you saying something about that actually in my life. I think I remember you saying, Sam, I used to hang around a particular guy in secondary school because I had a massive crush on him for the whole of secondary school. Obviously, I never said anything until years later. What happened when you did say something, Sam? But yeah, I was in I mean, I don't get crushes, so for me, I loved a guy for like 2 years when I was at school, and I used to send him I mean, I don't even think I've said this out loud ever. I used to send him anonymous Valentine's cards. I completely forgot about that till now. I've only just remembered that, and I kept it a secret for years. Like on this channel, that's an exclusive because I don't think I've ever said that publicly before in my life. It's like I completely forgot about it. I used to literally cut like words out of newspapers and that and cut them up and send the Valentine's card anonymously with cut bits of paper. So there would no handwriting in it even. Oh my lord. I didn't even remember that. He wasn't a good guy. I get attracted usually to guys who are naughty boys. Like at school, the guys that were naughty boys, the ones that would like cause trouble for the teachers and play up. Those were the type of guys I got attracted to. I remember there was one guy as well. I think he was autistic. I think I've always got on with autistic guys, but I think he was autistic, called Martin. And he used to borrow my eraser. I would say rubber, but that means condom as well, but eraser and stuff. And all the people, kids weren't very nice to him, but I had a special bond with him. So I think that's why I've always got special bonds with autistic people, even these days, because I think I had special bonds with autistic guys from a young age. Because I think the guys that I was friends with, even before that, I think, or that I knew, I think some of them were autistic. I can tell now looking back. Um, my life, hetero person wanting to go to my room versus an ace want to go play Mario Kart, then test the new ice cream flavors at the shop. Uh yeah. But you mean actual ice cream flavors, don't you? You want it to a proper ice cream because obviously sexual people can mean something else when you say that type of thing. But yeah, I understand. Sam, he is straight, but he was fine with it. Bumped into him loads of times since. It may have been more than a crush because it lasted like 15 years. But I don't know because all these concepts confuse me. Oh my gosh. I think you've probably told me about him. My life, most of my friends over there have ADHD, ADD, or ASD. Yeah, I understand. I mean, my last long-term ex had ADHD, but he wasn't good with it. He was violent with it. I mean, like punching walls and pinning me up against things and stuff. So it wasn't good. So, if anyone's got ADHD, then I usually have to get to know them and just find out how it affects them, because this guy had severe anger issues with it. So yeah, but different people are different, aren't they? But I actually do get attracted in general to autistic guys. Um, but a lot of the people I know that are autistic, they're not violent like that. Oh, you have ADHD, yeah. It's quite, I think it's quite common, isn't it, to have ADHD? But a lot of the people I know autistic, they're more like have Asperger's. The people I know, I think more have Asperger's than ADHD. But yeah, like I said, just because he was like that doesn't mean to say other people are. That's why I always ask people how it affects them, because not everyone's the same. Some people can just get really, really hyper and not be able to concentrate on things and that type of thing. My life, I used to have an anger issue, because I used it as a defense against gain. Because I used it as a defense against pain that elementary school was causing and had caused. Ah, bless you. Um, Sam, I have ASD and schizophrenia. Um, ASD, that's autism spectrum disorder, isn't it? I think. I think is that what ASD stands for? I think so. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I hate the stereotypes of schizophrenia, Sam. I really hate them because I know you're such a lovely person, and all the stuff in movies is really just it's disturbing for actual people with schizophrenia because they're not like that. Like I know Sam's got schizophrenia, and I think one of our mutual asexual friends has got schizophrenia as well. And I also knew a person, a female friend who had that as well, and I went out with her to a theme park and stuff. It bugs me. Hollywood has a lot to answer to. Yeah, it's really not good, for because I know you're such a lovely person. You wouldn't hurt a fly, not other people. Stevie, I think I have bipolar. It runs in the family. That's very interesting. Have you been tested for bipolar, Stevie? Um, have you been tested for it at all? Yeah, I mean, my auntie had bipolar disorder. She's no longer alive. She killed herself, which is a bit shocking, but it happened, and I was really upset about it. I'll never forget it. Yeah, 'cause she used to get suicidal a lot, but I don't want to go into that because I like to keep this as positive a show as I possibly can. Sam, my last ex was not good about it, but my partner is now amazing. Yes, you've got a lovely partner, haven't you, Sam? I'm so glad you've got someone who understands you and who lives near you now. You live near them. Um, My life: ADHD, depression, anxiety, triggered social anxiety, PTSD, DPD, SPD, maybe OCPD, but I can't get it diagnosed, and I'm still learning about myself. Oh, but my life, you do try and help yourself a lot, though, don't you? From what I've known of you in the years, you help yourself a lot as much as you can with your mental health, from what I understand. I've just been diagnosed with PTSD. I don't know if you know that. I did an assessment recently, and I've got that now. I was score 49, and 32 and above is PTSD. So I've already got anxiety because I've got an anxiety disorder, GAD, and I've got fibro. I got three things now. I'm laughing, but it's not really funny. But you have to. For me, I need to see the funny side of it. Like, oh, what else is going to pile on my plate? You know. But yeah. So it's kind of like, I'm trying not to get too upset about the PTSD thing, because it's like kind of like the other day I was getting a bit freaked out. I'm like, oh my god, this is like a bit life changing, isn't it, Sandra? Like, hey, you've got PTSD. Like it does impact you, but I think I've always had the condition, probably somewhat, but I don't know. But severely over the last, like I've got it because of these last months of trauma. But I think some of the symptoms I might have had before, but yeah, it's like I've got the PTSD because of the trauma I've been going through since last October. So I've got different symptoms. Like, one of the symptoms I've had is like which I never got before, which is being jumpy at things. Like, I started to be just before I had the assessment, like 7 days before, I started to be jumpy. Like, my friend came over to look after me because I've still got my broken ankle healing since April, and like I went woo, and like it was him in my house, and I knew he was there looking after me, and it's like I'm like, oh my god, and so I didn't have that before. Like, I haven't had that type of thing for a long time. So, and I didn't have that before that I can remember. I might have had it years ago because like going back like a lot of years ago, before I moved here. But um, so my life, I joke about negatives and it makes me feel better. I'm not entirely sure why, but I think it's I said it first, so what someone else says can't get to me type thing. Yeah, I think I do that as well. It's like, you know what I mean? It's kind of like partly I think a defense mechanism, but partly it's like I've been in sales for years, and it's like pre-handling objections before they're made. So it's like if someone goes, oh, you've got this, that, and the other, it's like if I already tell them, then they can't exactly say anything against it, because it's like, well, I know I have that, so I'm quite open about it. I think that's very Sam does that too. Yeah. I think it's good. It's like if someone calls me weird, I'm like, great, I love it. Thanks very much. If someone calls me normal, I'm like, that's a bit of an insult. Can you please not call me normal? My life, reclaiming the words that others have said or might say. Yeah. It is very important to like own your truth and own who you are. Like I thought I had the PTSD condition because of like my anxiety has been through the roof. Like, and I've been going backwards a bit in my mind. Well, a lot in my mind since October last year. Like, there was some event that happened, which I can't talk about publicly, I'm not able to, but something happened last year, and it was a traumatic experience for me, and it's had kind of a deep effect on me, which I didn't expect to happen. I didn't expect this thing to happen. It shocked me, and I know you can get post-traumatic stress disorder through shock. So it really shocked me because it was a situation that I definitely didn't see coming and didn't expect to happen. It was really kind of sudden, and I'm like, oh my god. And I got really upset about it, and it was really difficult for me. And so it's kind of like some of that's still ongoing, that type of thing. So I can't quite get out of that fully at the moment, but it won't be like this forever. That's what I think. So my life, I proudly sound weird. Why be normal? Hugs. Oh, thank you. Hugs back to you. Yeah. I remember someone at my old job though, they used to talk, when these people talk about you, but they don't actually talk to you, some of them. And this person goes, oh, well, you're just so weird. And I'm like, thank you. That's great. I really appreciate the compliment. And they just shut them up. They're like, ah? I'm like, yeah, I appreciate that. Sunflowers. Yay. I love the sunflowers. But I just like, you've kind of like got to like take your mental ill health seriously, but also in your stride as well. Because if you think about it too much, then it makes things worse. Do you know what I mean? Like festering on it. Especially just try and manage it as best you can, and try and keep learning ways, for example, in my life, you're learning about yourself still. It's very important to learn about yourself. The more you learn about yourself, the more you can help yourself to manage your conditions, difficulties better, whether you call them conditions or difficulties, however you feel comfortable. Um, Stevie, I was bullied for being weird. Oh, so I conformed to being normal. And I look back and it is like, why did I waste so much time worrying what they think? Yes, that's my life. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I was bullied at school and it was horrendous time. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. So I do know how you feel. It really damaged me when I was young. But there was one thought that kept me going, and that's when I was 15 years old, I wanted to be a radio presenter. I've done voluntary radio presenting for years in the past. And at 15, I went to a radio station to get some work experience. And now I knew at that point in time that I was born for a special purpose, and I was going to have something to do with the media. I was going to be very famous in the future and well known in the media. That's what I've known since I'm 15. So my love of writing took over. My life purpose of writing took over in 2009, I think it was. It took over from radio, because my radio presenting was like all I'd ever wanted to do since 15. But at that point in time, I did know I'm born for a special purpose, and it has something to do with the media. And I kind of, I think even at school, I thought, well, it was at secondary school that happened, because I was still at secondary school then. But yeah, so I kind of, when even the bullying, I thought I am born for a special purpose. And I didn't know what that purpose was, but I've always known that. I still know that to this day. But I received a message from someone which was really nice. I don't want to give personal details out, but they were suicidal. Um, and I received a message back from like before this show, like a few hours, like several hours, to say that I helped them loads, because I helped find people like their specific identity, and they're really grateful to me. And so I'm like, oh, I'm really glad, because it's difficult when you get private messaged and someone says stuff about, like, I'm getting a bit upset now, like not wanting to live. And I don't tell people about all this stuff on my channel because, I just want to help people. I don't know if I can. I just try my best. And anyway, I have helped this person and they're a lot happier now and they feel they belong somewhere. And I'm really, really, really happy about that, because before they were feeling like they didn't belong and there wasn't a point to life anymore. And so I'm really, really happy that, that I've found people like them. That's all I can say, because I can't reveal their personal information. But I know they've told me they've been saying things in the community about me helping them anyway. So hello if they're watching. But I can't say anything else, because I don't give personal information out. But I just, I'm glad that I was able to help that person, because I can't promise to help everyone, but it was really good. Stevie, now I listen to Kate Bush and just embrace the weirdness. Oh, bless you. Yeah, like you say, we spend so much time worrying about what other people think, and there's no point. Life is way too short. Life is way too short. I mean, I really don't care what people think about me being asexual. I know I'm asexual, so I don't have to prove anything to anyone, or justify myself to anyone. And so I just like enjoy being me. I think as you get away from the school bully culture, you can be yourself a lot more, because you don't have to be in that kind of trapped environment. Um, and so you've got a greater degree of freedom to a certain extent. So I think that's when you can actually, like you say, embrace your weirdness and just move forward with strength and energy and conviction, really, to be your authentic self. I mean, life really is a journey about discovering yourself. I'm connected to an entrepreneur who's also a coach, like a life coach, and they were saying that basically in life you have to chip away at the things that aren't actually you, so that you carve out like the statue of the real you. your authentic self. So rather, a lot of the time we think that, you know, that we're trying to take on, well, basically throughout our lives, we take on other people's identities, we take on other people's beliefs and assumptions, subconsciously usually, and, you know, and then we get all this stuff piled on us, and then we can't know who we really are, and then we feel lost and left out and lonely, and like, who are we, you know? But they were on about like life is about chipping away at what isn't you to reveal the true you, and that it's okay. So this particular coach was saying he's intense, right? Someone called him intense, so he went out for a meal with someone. It was to do with business, and he had a meal with this person. This was like 5 years ago or something. This guy turned around, and it was with two people, and this guy said, "Oh, my friend thinks you're intense," and so he, the coach at that time, before he was doing all his work, thought that that was negative because the guy was like saying it in a way that sounded negative, right? But just because someone said that in a negative tone of voice or had a negative attitude or has negative connotations doesn't mean to say it's negative. That's one person's opinion, and we shouldn't be taking on board that opinion as though it's our own and so it's valid. So he said, you know, now he embraces the fact he's intense. He's like, yeah, I'm intense. And he's like, now I embrace the fact that I cry at movies. He's like, I cried over a Lion King movie at the weekend, and that masculinity isn't about being macho. It's about basically living as your full, authentic self and being comfortable with it. So my life, I'm going to do the hand fasting proposal to my boyfriend on our 2-year anniversary. Oh, that's lovely, my life. That's pagan, isn't it? I found out a shooting star was going to appear that night. To me, that's no coincidence. Oh, that's beautiful, my life. Oh, wow, a shooting star. That's so romantic. Of course, I would say that because I'm hugely romantic, as you know. So I'm like, oh, that's so sweet. Obviously, if you're not romantic, you'll probably just think it's very pretty. Pretty to see in the night sky. So whether you think it's pretty or romantic or just something nice to look at, it's really good. Yeah, that's really, really cool. That's really cool. But I'm glad, you know, like we must remember that we must like life is a journey to find the true us and the true authentic self. You're huge on romance. Oh, bless you. Mm. Yeah, I've got, I don't know if you know, I've got a community tab on my channel now so you can vote for things. I really find that helpful because I like to know about who's watching and why they're watching and what they like about the channel. I found out that I've still got more aromantic. Well, so far the people that have voted, there's more aromantic asexuals that have voted. I'm proudly a cheesy romantic. Oh, that's so sweet. I'm really a hyper romantic, as you know. That's the only thing I find difficult being single, is that I've got kind of like kissing needs and romantic. Like I really like being romantic. That's why I used to love going clubbing, because I could get my kissing needs met. Then the guy I was with at the end used to walk out and hold my hand, hold hands with me just to go down. And then I got in a taxi and went home, and kind of like that was it. So it's like I get my kissing needs met. I can have some romance, but I don't have to worry about them because they're sexual guys. Obviously, they're not suitable for me. So and they don't want a relationship with an asexual girl, right? So, you know, I really liked that. But at the moment, you know, I'm not vaccinated. I won't be getting the vaccine. I have so many allergies. I'm happy not to have the vaccine anyway, but I have got so many allergies, it would be dangerous for me to take that anyway. And so, you know, like over in the UK in September, which is next month, they are not allowing unvaccinated people into clubs anymore, as far as I know, unless they change something about that. Which seems a bit discriminatory because they've stopped doing the tests and just focusing on people that have got passports, but you can still get the virus even if you've had the vaccine. So that doesn't really make sense. They can still be spreading it around because they're just doing away with the tests and just having the passports. That's what I last heard anyway. But my friend said they might have exemptions. They don't know yet. So who knows? But yeah, I'm a bit like, what the hell am I going to do now? Because I love kissing. But I guess I just need to focus on my career more. I've even been thinking maybe I should set up a business, kissing business, particularly for younger foreign guys in their early to mid 20s. That could be quite a good business. I get my kissing needs met and they get kisses. What could be better than that, right? Oh dear. I think even my dad suggested years ago I set up a kissing booth because I used to go on about kissing all the time. Yeah, even my dad. That's funny. Stevie, even though I'm pretty sure I'm aromantic, I'm still fully open to being demi-romantic if I might find the perfect platonic relationship. Oh, that's really sweet. Oh, that's nice. Yeah. I mean, there obviously is Cupio romantic as well, which is someone who desires a romantic relationship without actually experiencing romantic attraction. So I've done videos on Cupio romantics before. Um, and so, I've known some people like that, and it's kind of really difficult for them though. Like some actually need to be in a relationship because there's this sense of wanting a romantic relationship despite not being romantic in nature themselves is so overwhelming and so overbearing that they like really need a relationship with a romantic person. But then I've met other people that are not bothered about that Cupid romantic, they just really aren't that bothered about relationship. They've got no urgency or need or want for it. It's just something that they know they are. They know they kind of have this like underlying craving for some romance, but they don't really want to act on it. It's not as strong enough for them, you know? So, but yeah, it's interesting as well, and different aromantics feel differently. I mean, I was listening to some aromantics chat in a group today, and they were saying about some difficulties they had, and they said that, that the person asked them, "What does being aromantic mean to you?" As in, how does it feel for you? What's it like? And a lot of them said that they feel they've got an inability to fall in love. They can't fall in love. Um, and so that's very interesting because obviously aromantics can still love, um, but just in different ways of a non-romantic nature. But I think they're using the specific word fall in love. Um, so it was interesting because obviously I'm not aromantic and I wanted to observe how being aromantic feels like for some aromantic people, and some of them were really struggling with the fact they can't fall in love as they feel they can't. And so, every person on the asexual orientation, every person who's on the asexual spectrum of the asexual orientation, finds it difficult, I think. Stevie, like I've always wanted to be that Disney princess. Oh, that's like me with that happy ending with Prince Charming, but I've not experienced romantic attraction. Well, I'm wondering if you're a bit Cupio romantic. It is possible. But maybe not a strong Cupid romantic. That's what when you said that then, I was just thinking, you might be Cupid romantic. It is possible. But then you might not. You might just, I don't know, appreciate romance. I don't know. But, I guess it depends on if you desire a romantic relationship or not. But like I said, I've met some Cupid romantics and they don't actually, it's not strong enough desire for them anyway. So I think they identify as a grey romantic, Cupio romantic. Someone who desires a romantic relationship, despite not experiencing romantic attraction, but not enough to want to act on it, basically. So a demi-romantic, Cupio romantic. This is where all the labels get quite complicated and complex, don't they? But yeah, like I love being like a Disney princess. But obviously with me, I want I want kisses. I want to go around kissing and cuddling all the time. I've always been like that. That is one of the things like I miss about relationship. Like my last long term ex, right? He was not abusive sexually, but he was abusive in pretty much every other way. But there was times when I did have enjoyable times with him in terms of kissing. So me and him used to go around to theme parks, zoos, aquariums, out for meals to the cinema, and we always used to be kissing. And I did really like that part of the relationship. I do miss not having that. I don't miss him, but I miss not having that. Because I really liked that and I was used to it for years. Don't forget I was with this guy in total for 8.5 years. So when you've had 8.5 years of always having a person to be able to kiss every time you saw them and be able to have quite a lot of kissing publicly, and you really love that, and you haven't got that anymore, that is kind of hard. Stevie, I mean, I've never had a deep connection with any guy, so maybe demi-romantic might still be an option. Yeah, maybe it is still an option, Stevie. I mean, I find it's easier to have a connection with a asexual guy than it is a sexual guy. That's my personal experience. I don't know if you talk to any asexual guys, but I mean, I've had two demi-romantic guys interested in me. Um, and they were very romantic when they were in terms of feelings for me when they were emotionally connected to me. And both of those guys, they were like, only able to get attracted romantically to one girl at a time. They couldn't be attracted to more than one in terms of romance. So that was very interesting. But I don't know if they would be as romantic as I would be. I still probably think not. I think I'm one of the most romantic people in the world. Like, when I was on ASAP a long time ago, there was this guy and he was like, "You're the most romantic person I've ever met in my life. You're so romantic." I'm like, "Yeah, I know." Because I'm excessively romantic, really excessively romantic. So I'm looking forward to be able to get once my ankles healed a lot more, I'm looking forward to be able to self-date a lot more because I've really missed that with myself. Like, I haven't been out much, but obviously I've got to focus on my career as well. So kind of like I don't always have time to go out and do that type of thing anyway, because I need to take care of career stuff. Oh, I love the little sunflowers you keep sending me in my life. I feel very loved in a happy, smiley way when you say that. It's so cute. Thank you. It's really nice. Yeah, I do. So for me, I find it difficult. I love being single, but I also find it very difficult being asexual and being hyper romantic, hyper kisser, and having had that experience in the past. Thanks for smiley, and so for me, it's like I do miss that. I don't miss the guy that I was doing that with. I just miss the actual having that. Like, it's like having it on tap, if you know what I mean. Like, having it as a having it as something that's very easy, like the river flowing. Like, there was no like not able to do that, no restrictions like that, and that's the kind of thing I look for again, is a guy who's like really into kissing publicly and really into loads of kissing, and it's just very important for me, Stevie, I hug people and touchy, not in a creepy way, so people should not think aero people are cold-hearted. Oh, bless you. Like, personally, my personal experience, I don't think asexual aromantics are cold-hearted at all. I think they're the opposite. I think they are a lot. I mean, I've known a lot of aromantic asexuals that cuddle their friends, for example. I know a lot of aromantic, really. I feel a lot of aromantic asexuals like emotional bonds and are very kind of like friendship based. My experience of aromantic sexuals, on the other hand, in like from talking to them in comments on YouTube, there's a guy I follow on YouTube whose specific whole show is about being aromantic but not asexual. And when I've seen comments and stuff, asexual aromantics are not cold-hearted, in my personal opinion and experience, at all. But in my experience of aromantic sexuals, they come across more like that. Like, the people I've spoke to, they just want the sex. They're not interested in a relationship. They're not interested in a friendship. They just literally want the sex. And that's how I think they can come across as cold-hearted. I'm not saying they are cold-hearted in general, but in terms of a relationship, they don't want a relationship usually. They literally just want the sex. They have no need for an emotional bond, no need for emotional connection, no need to be friends with the person. They literally just want something where they can come, have sex, and go home. And that's basically it. They don't need anything. There's no attachment there. There's no feeling towards wanting to be any attachment to that person. That's my experience, my personal experience so far. I'm just sharing it. Sam, I'm the opposite. I hate physical contact with anyone but my partner. Yeah, I mean, personally, I can hug a person hello and goodbye as a friend, but I can't, I'm not touchy to people that aren't I'm not to anyone that I'm not in a relationship with. I don't cuddle my friends either. I don't go kissing my guy friends or anything like that. That's strictly reserved for a partner. Um, So I couldn't years ago, I couldn't even hug a person. Like, I could only hug someone I was in a relationship with, or my parents to say goodbye. But these days, I can hug someone alone goodbye, even someone I don't know that I've just met usually. But for me, it's more comfortable if it's a younger person. If it's an older guy, I can't really, I find it difficult to have any contact with someone who like I'm really repelled by in terms of like older guys. I'm not really, I can do it with some. I've got an asexual older guy friend, um, and I could have a hug goodbye with him. Um, but in general, I tend to, like prefer if I'm hugging someone for it to be a younger person, really, to be quite frank with you. Um, I love how we all so unique and individual. Yeah, we really are. It's beautiful. It really is. It's also why it's very difficult to get a relationship match if you're looking for a relationship. It's why, because we are all very unique and so individual that it's very difficult for us to get a relationship match if we want a relationship. I obviously know that not everyone else does here. Um, because we are also very different, like we all got niche needs, we've all got different things that we like about each other, and that we've all got different things to each other, if you know what I mean, Stevie. It's it's great we're all so different but understanding. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. It just makes things difficult. I mean, I just find it very difficult to find a guy for a relationship for me. I'm guessing that I just, you know, haven't met the right asexual guy for me. I don't think he's a sexual guy. I think he's asexual, but I'm open to the possibility, the very, very minute, tiny, tiny, and then I say no. I was going to say tiny, tiny, tiny possibility they could be a sexual guy, but then I'm like, no, I don't think he is because I just can't imagine it. But I'm open to a tiny. I think he's probably on the grey asexual end of the spectrum, if I'm honest. Unless he's a really highly romantic, heteromantic guy, or highly romantic, don't romantic you could be, but I just don't really see myself as a sexual guy. But because I love the kissing so much, it's usually what sexual guys are into a lot more than asexual guys, which is why I have a problem finding someone. Sam, I found it very difficult to find someone who was closely been up for good. I found someone eventually, and you will do too. Yeah, Sam, it's good. It's really good. Yeah, I guess I was really disappointed by the fact that the guy I liked back in June, who's Indian asexual, didn't work out. But, I think everything happens for a reason. And I'm glad that I don't stay with someone who wasn't right for me, or that person's out of my life now. And so it's easier to get over him. I know there's other guys out there now, but I sometimes still think about him, which is a bit difficult. And I got upset when I did go back on Facebook dating when someone was talking to me, an Indian guy. Actually, I just got upset about the asexual one. I'm like, oh, clearly I'm not really over him fully yet, so better stop dating for now. Steve, I'm going to have to go now. I love these conversations with people who understand me. Thank you guys so much. Oh, lots of love. I think I'll have to be going soon as well. It's like an hour and 23 minutes I've been on here. It's been a very interesting conversation, though. I really love it. But yeah, I guess I better go get some sleep, I think, unless anyone else wants to chat about anything else. But yeah, I think, we're all diverse, wonderful, and beautiful, and that's to be embraced. It can make life a little bit more interesting and complicated at times, but hey, it's better than being boring, right? Much better. Anyway, I'm gonna love you and leave you for now. It's been so wonderful. Thank you so much, Sam, my best friend, for being here. Thank you so much, my life. Thank you for Stevie, who's already gone off. And I know there's been other people watching that hasn't actually been in chat. And whoever you are, I want to thank you deeply from my soul to yours and say thank you so much for being here. I love you and appreciate you as well. And yeah, Sam's like, yeah, I should do some work on my project and then sleep. Oh, this is great. Oh, bless you. I'm actually been streaming this on Facebook at the same time via my phone, but I'm looking up here so I can see my chin. But yeah, it's been wonderful to have you. So yeah, good night, my life. Night, Sam. Lots of love. Bye, Stevie. And lots of love to everyone else. I'm going to sign off now. And yeah, bye, my life, says Sam. Take care, everyone. racial quirky on each other. And if you're new to this channel on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe and hit that great big bell icon so you get notified of every time I go live like now or post a new video. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. And if you missed this stream, don't forget to watch it on replay. Take care and lots of love. Bye. Nice to see you.